Good morning, everybody. How are you doing?
Morning, Yaku. How are you?
I'm all right. Very cold, but okay. I, I definitely don't expect too many early risers this morning. Um, it's going to be a challenging. It's going to be a challenging day fighting the weather if the maximum temperature is going to be 12. So yeah, it's cold and wet. That's typical Cape Town. I'm not sure why people are surprised that the weather is like this because this is it's still winter and winter. A lot of people, hi Teresa, thanks for joining us. A lot of people think end of August, 1st of September should be spring. People, mm-mm. As far as I can recall, for a number of years running now, spring day, 1st of September, um, actually rained. But it's chilly and it's wet. Therefore, very grateful for those who have at least managed to get up, although they're still in bed, and thankfully can hide themselves by not activating their video option. But today, I think just to get us started, I would love to us all to quickly go for a gym session and get the juices flowing and hit get our body temperatures up. But you know what? I think as a best second alternative, maybe a nice cup of coffee. Hope you have one with you. I've got my ginger tea with me, so I'm definitely getting some uh, internal warmth. It does wonders, keeps us focused, um, and at this point, it is Friday for those who don't know, for those who have lost track of time. Yes, and you might feel like that person on the screen in the image that you don't know if you're coming or going. If you don't feel like that, please give us the secret because I think all of us feel like that, not just on the Friday, most of the time. So, yeah, how's the vibe generally with everybody before we kick off today? All good?
All good.
Sounds like it. Sounds
Yeah,
like
in the
it.
office it's nice and warm. I got the heater on, so I don't feel any
Right.
cold.
Show off.
Uh,
Guys are so lucky. Tarquin, nothing out. You haven't been out on the beach this morning? Oh, yeah, I can see that. Yeah. Tired and chilly. I tell you what, I mean, you're on the surfboard this morning, you'll end up halfway on the way to Mozambique before lunchtime. It's a bit stormy outside. But anyway, people, the best way I think to get going and to get warmed up is to
Start learning.
exactly. And one of the things that and I said yesterday in closing, um, one of the toughest things to do, and one of the um, I said it to my first year to a second year group yesterday afternoon. They were still some of the fortunate ones who had the first semester or first term of the first semester last year on campus before COVID hit. And I can very clearly remember, and fortunately, some of them could remember it too. Said to them last year at the start of their 3 year course, if you learn nothing in year one, if you just about pass your subjects, if you learn nothing, please learn just at least one thing, and that is how to manage your time. And managing time obviously comes with managing ourselves. If we don't know, morning Luandu, morning everybody that has joined. Um, if you don't manage yourself, um, it's going to be very difficult to manage your job, to manage and to balance or try and find a balance and juggle everything like that image in the screen shows you. Because most of us, I think, sometimes feel that we are juggling more than we can handle. But if we understand ourselves, if we know what gets us up in the morning and the 6 of you that have joined so far this morning, each of you have a different motivation for getting up in terrible weather and early in the morning. For students under the age of 25, definitely this is early morning. For working adults like Andre, this is half the day finished already. But I think that's the important thing. That's where you have to find that motivation. What gets you up? What gets you excited? I could have shared it with you before. I'm not sure. I went for a job interview many, many years ago. I was looking at 2 different options. The one was paying me 5 times more than I was earning at that stage, and that was first year after I got married. The other one was paying me nothing, but it was giving me an opportunity to grow a business over years. And something I've done my whole life so far, and sometimes you opt for option B, which is usually the easier option, but always when I'm confronted with a choice between A, the difficult one, and B, an easier option, some advice: choose a tougher one, choose a difficult one, because in the long run you're going to benefit from it. And I can talk from personal experience. The reason why I didn't take option A, which was the easier one and financially the more lucrative one, and the one I was qualified to do, and the one I was definitely skilled to do very well, was that, and I actually told my wife that morning when I made my decision. I said, you know what, I know I can do this job. I know I can be very good at this job. I'm just not sure if I'm going to be motivated and excited to get to work every day. And you've answered that question. I know it's a lot said, bearing in mind what our unemployment rate is in the country at the moment. But you know what? If you know what drives you, if you know what motivates you, sometimes your circumstances forces you and becomes that motivation. You'll succeed regardless. And fortunately, in your case, or in most of our cases nowadays, we have the whole globe open to us as an option. We don't have to limit ourselves in how we plan our careers to our country, to our town that we are familiar with at the moment. But if you want to manage yourself, that's one of the secrets I've learned over time, and that is, and I'm rushing through the learning outcomes because it's there. I'm not going to discuss it one by one because that will surface as we progress through the through the chapter. But something important, and you know what, Theodore Roosevelt was one of the more successful American presidents, and yeah, I think that's a very appropriate quote. When you play, play hard. When you work, don't play at all. That's where we can find the balance. That's where you should find the balance. And I think it's important for us to, at this point, realize, and if you haven't, and I know some of you, I know, are in sales already as a career, it's a 24/7 job. And the reason why we say this is not that your office hours are going to be 24/7, but you and to be successful in sales, you need to be switched on all the time. You cannot miss an opportunity. You have to, and I've said to you before as well. My dad was a born salesperson. Although I know everybody can sell, and that you can actually be taught certain skills. But he's the type of individual that would go out to buy bread and come back without the bread, but with 3 leads that he can follow up. That he was just alert to opportunities, and I think that's the one thing that makes this profession of selling a 24/7. You drive past, you see a new building, it went up. Oh, geez. Pay attention. You've got to be, as I said, you've got to be hyper all the time when you're in sales because you're going to miss opportunities. But to be able to do that, we know that we have limited energy, and that for us to be able to do that, and be successful. We need to find out what drives us as individuals, how we can manage our own strengths and weaknesses, and how we can manage our time. And that's what this chapter is all about. To realize that the time, as valuable as time is, and as limited as time is, it's not just your time. It's also the person that you are trying to sell to, the potential buyer. That person also has the same amount of time as you in a day. So we'll unbundle that through the chapter, that we have to obviously be alert to other people's time challenges as well. Right. One of the other reasons why time, not just time management, but why self-management is so extremely important for somebody in sales is that you often are going to be on your own. You will have targets that set by your business, by your sales team, by the objectives, the sales objectives that was set as part of your marketing strategy. But you're pretty much on your own. Nobody's going to hold your hand and make the call for you. Nobody's going to do the presentation for you. Nobody's going to close the sale for you. So time management, important, yes, but let's start with self-management first before you can actually manage your time. Fortunately for us, with technology, it's become a bit easier. It's become tougher as well because things happen quicker, and that is what IT and modern technology has brought to us. It's a much faster moving world. Things happening quicker. Buyers or potential buyers better informed when you approach them. And also basically realizing that at this point, the rules that apply to selling basically apply to both buyers and sellers. You will have the technology to access more information, but so would the potential buyer. Right. One thing I know that many of us struggle with is that we struggle to stick to the time schedule that we have set ourselves for a particular day. It requires a lot of discipline to actually. You know what? Anybody can set up a structure. Anybody could actually fill a diary on a daily diary. Sticking to it. Let's say, for instance, let's look at week 3 on this course. There's a timetable. You've got this module and a few other modules as well. You know what time of day your classes are throughout the week. You know when the class tests are. You know when your assignments are to be submitted. But when you sit down and you plan your week ahead, to a certain extent, now currently being professional students, like you are, that's your diary. That indicates to you what you have to do every day for this week, for the entire week. And still, nobody has 100% class attendance for every module this week. It's not because it's not because I think there's a lack of discipline for us to stick to the timetable that we've set for ourselves, or in this case that has been set for us. But there are external factors that influence how we actually stick to that time structure for the week. Life happens. Some of us work full time and attend classes in between meetings. Some people work part time, and now they get the opportunity to work an extra shift. But extra shift, I need the money, but also then I'm going to miss a class. Oh, but the class is recorded. So people, it's regardless of what you do, this is not something that only happens once you start working one day. This is something that you've been used to, or hopefully have been used to for a number of years now, especially in your final 3 years at school, and so far with your studies this year. to have a time structure. If you do not have a time structure, we are actually, you're gonna find it that you will always or will never have enough time. None of us will ever be in a position where we can admit and say, you know what, I don't know what to do. I've got so much time in my hands. I'm bored. Well, if you're lucky if that's the case, but that usually happens just before you die. Anyway, people, manage your time and stick to the timetable that you have set for yourself. It requires a lot of discipline, and that's why I sometimes cannot understand why people say, you know what, sales is just a profession that people do if they can't get another job. Sales is a profession that requires extreme discipline. I suppose any career for that matter, but definitely one of the skills or traits that you have to work on all the time, and that is to apply a lot of dedication and discipline to the objectives that you have set for yourself. While we're talking on that subject, let's advance to goals and objectives. And we know that objectives that are set in sales specifically, the one given is that our company that we represent will give us deadlines and will give us sales targets. That's a given. Now, your own personal objectives and how to achieve that and also satisfy yourself on other levels in your life is extremely important. You must have, and you hopefully have written something down somewhere that you never, ever compromise on. And that's your own personal mission and vision and objectives. I can remember I was trying to find a photograph from my archives last night, and I would have loved to show it to you up on the screen because it's very uncanny, as a matter of fact. I can remember the year I got married in 1987. I was engaged already, and my wife and I were sharing a sort of a small little townhouse out on a nursery up in the mountains in Stellenbosch. And we had in the main bedroom there was a very tall mirror that we find in most houses where people that people use to get dressed and see if they actually if all the colors match and the shoes and everything matches before you leave the house. And one morning I actually sat with a newspaper, and after I've read the property section, I took a pair of scissors and I cut out a photograph of a development that was being that was starting. It wasn't in the area where I was staying in Stellenbosch. It wasn't in the northern suburbs. It was up on the west coast, but it was a typical Victorian house with a nice porch, and it was the architectural drawing of that particular development, what it would look like if it's finished. And I cut it out the newspaper and I pinned it on that mirror. Every single morning before I go to work, I have a look at it, because that was my objective, to live in a house like that one day. And lo and behold, I think it was 2007. Could be 2007, 2008. That's exactly the house. As a matter of fact, at that point we were looking, we were selling our house, and we were looking at different properties, and we've already actually put in an offer on a particular property, and that we were very happy with, and we have satisfied all our needs. And then I got back from work on that afternoon, and I go into my emails, and here's an email that's sort of randomly, you know what, there's always that Property 24 and all these kind of random emails that come in, and sometimes don't end up in your spam. And I opened it, and it was as if I was seeing that picture. I ran to my bedroom, and I took that picture of the mirror, and it was almost a carbon copy of that, but it was a house in the northern suburbs in Devonville. And I just knew that this is what we need to have. So I phoned the agent immediately, and we were the first people who reacted to that advertisement. We were the first people to saw the house, and we immediately put in the offer as well. And I was like, all right, now the trouble is, how do you get out of the other deal? Because you've already we've already committed ourselves to another deal, obviously. And excuse me, Andre, no, I will never be able to afford a house like that, and I would never. As a matter of fact, that house that we eventually then bought, which was my ideal house, which I finally found after 10 years of doing everything with that as a motivation. I realized that, and we sold that in 2012, and not because it wasn't ideal. It was there were too many there were too many rooms that we never visited during a normal day. So if it's like going into your wardrobe, and then if you haven't worn something for longer than a year, why are you keeping it in your cupboard? Please get rid of it, donate it to somebody, give it away. And I think that's also what happened with our house. It was lovely. It was everything that we ever dreamt of, and it was everything that we always wanted. And then when we got it, it was great. And then you realize at the point that, you know what, it's actually too much, because you're not. If you don't visit every room in your house at least once in a particular day, then the house is too big for you. So, Andre, unfortunately, yes, as lovely as that property is. Firstly, something I've realized as well is that blue pond in front that some people call a swimming pool eventually end up being a koi pond. And I think most owners of property who have swimming pools, it's brilliant, it's lovely, it adds selling value to a property. But I tell you what, it's an absolute horror show just to keep it looking like that. And we know that these properties will always, in the pictures that they put up on the property websites, will look as if it's a Caribbean, it's a Caribbean beach, because yeah, the water is never always that crystal clear. People, find your own objectives and missions, because that will be your motivation. Regardless if you have to find a way that you can achieve that within the objectives and the goals that your company is offering you and expecting you to do to get your pay at the end of the month, or in sales to earn that extra commission. So you have to make sure that you find something that drives you, that motivates you. And never ever forget that. I talk from personal experience, and I'm pretty sure that each of you never forget what motivates you, especially on a cold morning like this, where we struggle just to cope. Because I have to admit, I can put on another jumper, but then I can't move my arms and legs. But I feel like I need to, because it's rather chilly this morning. People, find your drive and motivation, because that is the first thing that's necessary if you want to manage yourself. Like any process, it starts with setting an objective. It includes the steps on how to get there, and it has an evaluation option at the end to see if we are happy with what we've achieved and if we're happy with how we are progressing. Those guidelines you'll find on the screen is to obviously apply the SMART principle to setting your own goals. And we're talking about setting your own goals here, people. We're not setting about sales goals here, because the sales goals are the ones that you have to achieve to be able to meet your own personal objectives. Make them realistic, but make them challenging. If it's too easy, you know what? You won't feel as satisfied, and it won't feel as rewarding. But make sure that they're realistic and that you can achieve them. You must be able to measure those goals as well. I got a photograph for myself, or I got a architectural sketch for myself that reminded me. That's a visual that I saw every day. For some people, it might be Aston Martin that they put on their mirror. I don't know, whatever makes your boat float. But make sure that that's realistic. That's why my picture I put up on my mirror was not any of the images that you've shared with me this morning. And it was also not to have a sports car, because a sports car is not a practical item. It's something that when you have everything else and you have the money to spend, and you have been kind and to charities as well, and you still have money left over, then that's the kind of toys that you buy for yourself. Because it's impractical. I tried it once, not because I actually was in a position to purchase it, but just because a friend of mine said to me, go try it out and see what it's like. Otherwise, if it's not, then take it off your list of goals that you, or objectives. And I did, because I could hardly put my gym bag and a squash racket on the back seat. So where would the children and the dogs sit? So make sure that it's achievable. That make sure you can measure it, because if we don't see it every day, if you don't write it down every day, if you don't repeat it every day, we are going to forget it. Goals should be prioritized, and that is the golden rule. Regularly evaluate. Go out, and if your dream house looks like one of those images that has been that we've shared this morning, get in your car, drive to that house, get inside, walk around. Remember, you are just observing. You don't have to buy. Often people, after an exercise like that, you take that off your list. Oh, it looks very nice from the outside, but it's actually not very practical inside. Very often we get to that point, and that is why we have to regularly evaluate if we are still on track to achieve our goals, and if we maybe needn't relook at it and change our goals and objectives. There's a number of goals. There's obviously a lot that we can, and for different people. And again, people, these goals are not in a numerical order. You don't have to achieve the one before you achieve the other. They are very much interlinked. It's not a list of 12 goals that at the end of your life, if you've achieved all 12, you actually can look back on your life and can say that I've actually done it, and that has aided to my success. It's different for everybody, and it will happen in a different order for a lot of people. Often, people in the mid-40s, usually an age where society, or age that society has decided on, that you should be looking at where you are in your career. If you are in a top management position or you're CEO of a company, then you've actually been successful. Forgetting that Colonel Sanders that's founded KFC, only started his business when he was way into his 60s. I think he was 62. So Achieving these goals will only be possible and remain possible if you never give up on them, because you can still achieve them even much later in your life. Your specific life cycle that you're in will determine which of these goals that we have on the screen is important. Very often at an early age, early 20s, traveling the world, seeing the world, exposing yourself to what the world has to offer is very much a goal that many young people have. It's also something that very often does not happen at that time, but then never forgotten, and then later on retirement. You basically providing you with an example here of your goal when you finish studies was to travel the world for a year, do odd jobs here and there, but see different places. Maybe it wasn't possible. Maybe there was an opportunity that came along that was a very good job, that could grow into a great career for you, and you postponed your traveling plans. But that became a new motivation for you to work hard. So when you retire from the job that you have now taken, that you actually will be in a position to travel. So people sometimes, and you can look at that list and you can use that list and see, okay, right, maybe this should be on my bucket list when I set my own personal goals and visions. Because if we don't, it would just be another 8 o'clock Friday morning class in personal selling that you attend. And next year it would be a different module, and Monday it will be a different module, and then there's no purpose. There must be. And yeah, obviously your first objective is to pass your first test, and then a good mark for your assignment, and then pass your exam, and then eventually qualify yourself, complete your qualification. There are little baby steps as well in achieving each of these objectives. But have a look at your own personal life. It's a very important starting point. And it's something that we tend to forget or tend to postpone and say, yeah, I'll do it next week. People, especially now in the times that we are in with the pandemic, not under control. I saw that was, again, more than 12,700 cases identified yesterday in South Africa. So we are managing, but we are not winning the battle yet. So especially in times like this, we've all have had personal losses as a result of the virus, and for some of us it was close family, for some of us it were friends, and that should make you revisit your list, and maybe adjust some of these goals and prioritize ones that probably were probably not one of the most pressing ones to achieve at the moment. Okay. There are three major goals that usually salespeople try to achieve. We refer to them as performance goals and activity goals, and then also conversion goals. We'll have a look at each three of these goals. I think we should be able to finish that in time, but we have another period later on at 10:20, and then we can continue if we don't finish now. I'm not going to rush it. It's Friday, people, and we have to not modify the pace, but we have to sometimes, as I said, take a step back and then reflect. And I did that last night myself when I read through the material that we're going to do today, and I realized, you know what? I'm guilty of sometimes not doing some of these things myself, and I immediately sat down and I wrote down goals that I want to still achieve this month, which finishes on Tuesday, I think. And then also, some short-term goals to achieve. In sales, you're looking at performance goals, you're looking at activity goals, and you're looking at conversion goals. Your performance goals is related to the outcomes. it's mostly quantifiable. It would be, it is set to achieve and guide your activities. It must be challenging, otherwise the reward is not that great when you achieve it. And these goals are set first because when you attain certain performance levels, it means that the primary importance of both sales and sales goals, as well as the objectives, reaching the sales targets that your organization has set you will be achieved. It will guide your performance, and your performance goals also followed by activity goals, which are behavioral goals. It will indicate to you how hard you want to work. It lists all the activities that you have to do, and if you then achieve these activity goals, they translate into performance goals. But both activity and performance goals are not enough for a salesperson. You want to be looking at conversion goals, and your conversion goals is to get a strike rate, basically, also referred to as a ratio of 1 to 1. The successful people have a very high ratio or strike rate. In other words, every prospect that they see, they make a sale to. Now, we know that if you want to achieve one sale, you need to have at least 3 appointments, because 1 out of those 3 people is more than likely to do business with you. To get those 3 appointments, you at least need 5 people that you have contacted. And to get 5 people to commit to it, you at least have to see 10. That's usually the ratio for cold calling. If you start new business, people that has never bought from your company before, people that you've never done business with before, names that you've collected from a database or from a phone directory or from referrals or whatever. First time that you phone that people, you need to phone 10 people to get 5 appointments that will result in 3 people that commit themselves to you maybe doing a presentation to them, and 1 of them will buy. 10 people result in 1 sale. In other words, if you need 10 sales this month, you need to see 100 people. That's a standard ratio for new business. Obviously, if you apply that very well, your conversion rate becomes better and your conversion goals are achieved. And if you achieve your conversion goals, obviously you've reached your performance goals. Okay, so that funnel that you see in the image is typically to get the red at the bottom, the customers, or to get the customers at the bottom that buy. You need to throw a lot in at the top of the funnel. Okay, that's why it's a funnel. Otherwise, if it's the other way around, it will be in a triangular shaped, and whatever you throw into the top, it will just disappear before it gets to the bottom. It's the other way around. You need to have a lot thrown in at the top. It's like a blender, people. Who's got a blender in their kitchen or in their family's kitchen where you stay? You know, you throw a lot of stuff in, you fill that blender to the top. And what's the end result when you've completed the whole blending process? Probably about a third of the blender is filled with the end result. It's a similar process when you are funneling through, sifting through the prospects, and eventually converting them through leads to become not potential customers, but to become customers who buy from you. Right, I think we've reached the end of the first. I'm not sure how many periods you have. I think you do have with Mrs. van Schoor this morning, and just a second period. So I'm sorry if I've stolen some of her time. She's probably waiting for you guys already. Enjoy the rest of the morning. We'll chat again in the 4th period, 10:20. Okay, all good.